2 days ago on Friday, we went through an introduction about definition of the personality and characters of the healthy Christian personality. And we took the inventory yesterday, and everyone, I hope, is aware of his or her own personality profile. And within each profile, you could be the healthy Christian dominant or healthy Christian influencing or healthy Christian perfectionist or healthy Christian serving. I mean by healthy Christian that you see yourself with Christ. Would you please? This is the last session. Christ is representing himself in your personality. And you are trying to find your behaviors and characters on the lives of Christ in your personality. And this is a motivating force for you to get better, to improve your own personality. I said every personality could change to better if you want to be more effective by trusting in God, submitting to Him, and asking Him directly to work on that issue. God, I want to be able to express my feeling, to disclose myself. God, help me in the area of my pride. God, help me to delegate to others important tasks. God, help me with the problem of time. So mention to God exactly what you want Him to work with you on. And then find the exercise which will help you to achieve a task in every month. And write in your journal the progress of the change and any difficulties or obstacles from persons, places, or substances which are hindering you from progressing. And today, I will speak with you in a very summarized way about other hindrances for the personality. Spiritual hindrances, I will focus only, or I will mention only addiction. Any kind of addiction changes the personality. Any kind of addiction, gambling, narcotics, sex addiction, even spending, gossiping. If you are addicted to any of those, you will distort your healthy personality. And people will see you so different. You might be very warm and tender person. Gambling will change you. Most of the addictive personalities, you will find them with hidden agenda, vague. They can't open up. They can't disclose. Building walls around them. They could lie easily to cover up. They lose focus and concentration. And it could take them to an obsession. He'll be obsessed by the substance, or by the sex, or by gambling. And he might change to be an obsessive compulsive personality disorder. But in general, addiction is really destructive for the personality. You sit with anybody who's an addict, you'll discover you can't get through him. He has a hidden agenda. He's vague. And the partner always say that about them. Very secretive. Because they have a big secret inside them. They don't want to expose themselves. So, addiction by itself could disturb the personality. The other two areas, the personality disorders. Personality disorders mean these are diseases or disorders. Most of them develop in childhood and teenage, mostly childhood. Because they were saying that personality 80% or 85% form till age 5 or 6. And now we have extended that to the adolescent area, in which personality is still forming. And the rest, during adulthood, the rest 15%, in which you could change your personality at any time. But personality disorders are disturbed personality. They have names. We could have 19 of them. I'm not going to discuss all of them. Some of them are funny to talk about, but it's not funny to live with one of them. It's not funny. And they could be mixed easily with other psychiatric disorders. And some are living within us, and nobody's noticing. Some are like dependent personality disorder. Someone who is depending on others. He can't make a decision. He always asks, or even trifles. This is the way he was raised in parenting. He has to ask his parents, or her parents, and her parents or his parents force them not to do anything unless he asks them first. And they don't teach them how to deal with life. Something could pass so easy, not as a disorder, but just a character. But it is. Avoidant personality disorder. Someone who's avoiding certain situation or persons. But to the extent to be a personality disorder, yes. Because the main character is avoidance. Trying to avoid. I'm not going to discuss those, but let me take with you a paranoid personality disorder. The paranoid personality disorder, it could be mistaken with paranoid schizophrenia. The personality disorder in general, it doesn't get worse. All your life, you'll have a disorder. So the prognosis is better than the psycho-emotional disorders. Someone with schizophrenia, he will progress from bad to worse without the medication. But personality disorder, like the paranoid, he will continue all his life till he will die with the same level of the disorder. It is important to know that. Of course, some of those very specialized disorders, it needs an expert to diagnose it, not any psychiatric team. Someone who's familiar with those kinds. So, somebody has paranoia as a habit, as a character. Is always suspicious and doubting. This is not paranoia personality disorder. So paranoia could be a character. Someone when he is driving is always suspicious. Somebody will hit him, looking around him always. Feeling suspicious, looking to who is in the car driving and what he is doing or what she is doing. He is doubting and suspicious to the extent of paranoia. But paranoid personality disorder, someone will get somehow into one delusion. The delusion could be suspicion. So it's paranoid that people are following him. FBI is going after me. And it's not a fact. I mean, it's not real. But he's always fixed on one of these phobias, extremely paranoid about the FBI, which damages his personality or limits his functioning. When we reach schizophrenia, we see how to diagnose schizophrenia. We have something called, it's not written, called schizotypal personality disorder. They behave exactly like schizophrenia, but they don't have the two main diagnostic features, delusion and hallucination of schizophrenia. And anyway, we give them medication. For schizotypal personality disorder, carried from schizophrenia. And there's something called schizoid personality disorder. Not schizotypal and not schizophrenia. I'm just telling you how it is difficult to diagnose. Schizoid is someone who doesn't want to be involved, and you feel that he doesn't like people around him. He doesn't want to be involved. واخد جنب كده في حياته كده يعني. طب لازم سchizoid. It could be mixed with someone who's normal, but limitations of the functioning of the person will tell the doctor he has a disorder. You know, in every group, in every church, you will find at least 1, 2, 3 borderline personality disorder. Did you view the fatal attraction before? Did you see the movie? في حاجة اسمها fatal attraction. Did you see it? Or did you hear about that please يعني؟ ربنا اللي يوريك يعني. That borderline personality disorder affects mostly females. It's personalities, they were harshly abused during childhood, emotionally, physically, or sexually, harshly abused. And they were longing for genuine love of parents, and they cannot find. So when they grow up, they still long for love, affection, compassion, and understanding. And if they will find Abuna of the church, very compassionate, very loving, very understanding Father, they stick to him. A sponge which is absorbing Abuna love to the extent they could suffocate Abuna. He can't move. They are always with him. Going to his house. They move around him everywhere Abuna goes, they are around him. And of course, they are going to face Tasoni one day. Tasoni has to intervene because she's limiting the movement of Abuna. Abuna cannot get rid of her. They fear, always they fear abandonment, to be abandoned. The source of love, they fear that the source of love, one day will leave them. What's wrong if any personality drained from Abuna, Christian love, what's wrong? Nothing wrong. But in a pathological way, if she could call Abuna 10 times a day, and she doesn't want anybody to get close to Abuna except for her, Abuna will find himself one day, he has no time for her. He has other things to do. And that poor personality, she wants to see Christ in Abuna and his love expressed to her. Genuine Christian love. They function better if they will find a source of love and understanding. They could continue to be employed. They function better in their homes. One of the best sources of patience of the fathers of the church. If some fathers are lacking patience, we'll send them one case of borderline personality disorder. And it will be very patient and kind, offering her Christ's love, and he will not try to dismiss her, let her go, he should throw her. وهو ده بقى يعني حاجة صعبة إن أبونا ما يقدرش يقول لها مشي فيخلي تصوير يقول لها This is so common. It is common in all the churches and in all society. Histrionic personality disorder, mostly also in females. Mostly in females. Many of them, they are petite in size. And ممكن أنط على حاجات مش فاهمة. يعني إذا كانش interesting الحاجات ممكن أنط على حاجات كتير خلاص لا. يعني إذا كان القصة دي مش عاجباك أخش حاجات تخش حاجات تقيلة الناس اللي فين يعني عاوزين يعني. أنا بس بحضركم بالتدريج تخش في حاجات الأصل. Those young women at age during their adolescence, they were flattered by their parents how much she's pretty, how much she's charming, and she could get the best man ever. She deserved the best one. Her mother and her father are commending and praising her so much, flattering her. And if she will come and tell them about a young man who came after her to have something, her mother will encourage that. When they grow up, and even they are married, their look is someone who's very charming, but they have hidden seductive way of dealing with men. And they always, even the married women, they always fall in extramarital emotional affairs against their own good Christian principles. And in many of them, it goes beyond the emotional into physical extramarital affairs against their own Christian principles, as if they don't know what they are doing, but they are aware of what they are doing. So histrionic personality disorder are mostly females. Sometimes they show some hysterical anxiety, hysterical seizure when they are young. No seizures, epilepsy, but this is hysterical. For no reason, they go into contraction, and it's not a real epilepsy. But always after they finish the contractions, they cry. You could have sudden paraplegia, hemiplegia, sudden blindness, hysterical. They take the emergency room, paralyzed, coming out of the emergency room, healthy. This is histrionic. Now, what's coming now is the antisocial personality disorder, mostly young men. Antisocial also due to abuse in childhood and the absence of a loving disciplinarian. Sometimes following the death of the father or absent father, physically absent or psycho-emotionally absent. They grow up unruly. They don't follow rules. Very rebellious and unruly. When they grow up more, you will find them most probably involved in crimes. They go to jail, juvenile halls and jails. They can't follow any law or rule. Some of them are in Sunday schools. Some of our kids. They are hostile to others, very aggressive, and don't care. When they were young, if he would do something, his parents are not going to tell him no. Even some of them, they pee on the pillow of their beds when they are 10 or 9, intentionally. You don't go to the washroom. And parents let it go. Sometimes they defecate on the pillow. 9 or 10. I'm giving you extremes of cases. Something very unusual. And they let it go. When they are 13, 14, 15, they beat up their parents. and they can control them. They are against the society, the rules of the society. And always you'll find them reaching prisons and jails. Why? No discipline with love. We are not giving them, while they were children during the parenting, how to follow rules. Discipline is so important, but not in aggression, but in love. القصة الثانية ممكن كلام عليها. You are a little bit narcissistic, correct? You must mean by narcissistic. Who's a narcissist?
All of us.
All of it. I hope not. Narcissistic personality disorder. Most females. Self-centered, so self-centered. He minds himself only, loves himself, so self-centered, that personality. They feel as if they have grandiosity. They feel as if they have supernatural powers or character, far better than others, whether in computer, whether in administration, whether in power, muscular power. They feel that they are on top of everybody. If anybody antagonizes them, and they could reach top administrative position, if anybody would antagonize them just in an opinion, they can deal with him in an extremely bad way. They put them down and turn aggressive. I remember a case of a very eminent servant in the church. He was narcissistic. And if his way is not followed, he will throw himself in the church on the carpet as if he had a heart attack. And everybody pity him, sympathize with him. And he had nothing. In the altar, he could always was in trouble within the sanctuary area. So self-centered. So, are you narcissistic, as Justine? No, this is pathological. And selfishness, which is pathological. By the way, gender identity disorder in the DSM-3 was a personality disorder. Now, in DSM-4, GR, it is not. Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. The Bible of Psychiatrists and Psychiatrists, a book of diagnosis, how to diagnose with criteria any disorder. And the perverts managed to lobby within the psychiatrists to delete it from the DSM as a disorder. So it is not looked at as a disorder now, although maybe 10-15 years ago it was a disorder. Gender identity disorder. I'm not going to discuss how it develops, theories on الموضوع and homosexuality. PMS, personality disruption. Psychomesia of the female. PMS, personality disruption. Do you think it's a male or female? Premenstrual. It has to be female. So usually the time before the period, 3 or 4 days or 1 week, those young women will show certain signs. They feel tense, bloated, headache, nervous, cranky, depressed, critical. Better to be away from them. This will continue. It will continue for 1 week before the period, and by the first or second day of the period, it will get less. But would you imagine 1 week every month you can't relate or you can't communicate with your spouse? It's hell at home. Children and husband cannot communicate with their spouse. That's why we call it personality disruption. It's day and night. The first 2 weeks of the cycle, she's very good. The second 2 weeks, getting worse the condition, and the last week, the top. It's hormonal, but it needs treatment. And you are losing 1/4 of your life, or up to 1/3 of your life with your spouse, without any ability to communicate, and she's very cranky and nervous. And of course, at the workplace, you could really know the time of the period. It's so obvious. Because after being so cranky every month, same time, I mean, she will get better. And everybody will rejoice the onset of the period. Better to avoid them during that part of the week before. Many husbands will come to complain that they cannot deal with their wives. Now we have special clinics for females, and they take medications for their personality disruption. It affects the whole family. I will go with you now to the subtle emotions. I'm going to present any name mentioned from you. Go on the internet if you are interested to know about the personality disorder. Personality disorders could take therapy for years to be treated, and some of them need medication. If you are suspicious that someone has a personality disorder, priests cannot treat personality disorders. Even older psychiatrists cannot treat personality disorder. They need someone who is specialized in dealing with those cases. We will read now item by item in the psycho-emotional disorders. Sometimes we call it mental disorders. emotional, psychiatric, or mental disorders. The percentage of the mental disorders is 1 to 5% of the population. 1 to 5% of the population. I have chosen for you some of the most famous generalized anxiety disorder. Over here, every part of the body. Depression, bipolar, which is manic depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, schizophrenia or psychosis, and ADD, attention deficit disorder, or attention deficit hyperactive disorder, in childhood and adults. Now, why we are interested in discussing something like that, psycho-emotional disorders? Because it affects the personality. It affects life. Why do we have to know about it? Why do we have to know about these psycho-emotional disorders? Because if one of them is in a family, he needs or she needs to be fully understood. We need to understand the nature of that disease. He or she could be a source of suffering to the family, and he or she themselves are suffering. Certain lifestyle for the family is going to be set. If one is depressed, depression is infectious, contagious. Everybody around will feel depressed and sad. And anxiety also is contagious. If one has an anxiety speaking to you, you will get anxious. So they could affect the family, we need to understand them. And number two, the majority are genetic inheritance. Genetically inherited, and after marriage, children could inherit the disease. That's why if you are sick, if you have any of those serious disorders, I'm going to tell you what it is. It must be disclosed to the future spouse during the engagement time. Or else, if you are taking medication and treatment, and you will not disclose that before the marriage, it could be a case of unknownness in the church. Because you deceive your partner, because this is going to affect future marriage, no matter life. In particular, the psychosis, schizophrenia, and the bipolar, which is the manic depression. Those two in particular. If you don't disclose them before the wedding, your spouse would ask for annulment. So we have to understand the nature of the disease or disorder in order to know how to deal, to feel for them, and to deal with them, to protect them from others. Everybody could suffer in the family. And number two, the genetic inheritance, and then the position of the church regarding those people who deceived their fiancé by not telling them. Okay, we'll read one by one. Do you have your handouts? I wish you had it all here. Because we'll read line by line. And you will see certain criteria for diagnosis. It cannot be left for someone. This is from the text. from the DSM. So you will find exactly this condition has to stay say for 2 weeks, for 1 month, or 3 months. 3 or 4 of the following criteria must be there. It's so easy. You will not be psychiatrist, but if you face one of those in the process of joining your life to someone, be careful. The first one is generalized anxiety disorder. We'll read it in medicine.
So on page 13. Diagnostic criteria for generalized anxiety disorder. Excessive anxiety and worry, apprehensive expectation, occurring more days than not for at least 6 months, about a number of events or activities. About a number of events or activities such as work or school performance. B. The person finds it difficult to control the worry. C. The anxiety and worry are associated with 3 or more of the following 6 symptoms.
How many now? How many months? Duration?
6 months.
6 months. And then you would choose at least 3 of the following.
Restlessness or feeling keyed up on the edge. Being easily fatigued. Difficulty concentrating or mind going blank. Irritability. Muscle tension. Sleep disturbance, which is difficulty following your staying asleep.
Anxiety, the word anxiety, worry, fear from something which might happen. Some people are anxious by nature, not pathological. You could be anxious in certain situations. This is not pathological, not a disease. But generalized anxiety disorder, continuous anxiety for over 6 months, in which you have 3 criteria of those mentioned. You need medication. There are generalized anxiety disorder with children and adults. It is in children too. And anxiety, if it goes more, it will cause panic. Because an anxiety panic attack. Most of those with panic attacks, they go to emergency rooms, feeling that they might have heart attack. They can't take a deep breath. Extreme headache, and they're feeling a stroke. Signs which could simulate something serious. It is a panic attack. When you go to the emergency room, they try to exclude those dangerous diagnoses, and if everything is okay, then it is panic attack. Panic attack is extreme anxiety which cause signs and symptoms, respiratory, cardiovascular, gastrointestinal, and you feel as if you are going to faint. Your heart is so fast, your breathing, you can't take a deep breath, severe headache, sinking sensation in your stomach. If you are driving, you have to stop the car, you can't continue. At least every one of those went to the hospital more than 1 time, emergency room. At least. And then they come for treatment. There is treatment for generalized anxiety disorder and medication with psychotherapy and for the panic attack. Now, if an anxiety will increase more, you have an anxiety, you have panic attacks, then you have something called hypomania. It's less than mania, and then the top is mania. Mania is the highest level of anxiety, and we will read later on manifestation of a manic attack, mainly. So the term anxiety starts by just an anxiety, then an anxiety panic attack, then hypomania, and the top is the manic manifestation of anxiety. هلاقي جنوني بقى، يعني قلق شديد. Why do they give medication for an anxiety? And the question is an anxiety and depression are associated with less trust in God? الإيمان بتاعنا مش حلو، مش كويس. Could faith cure an anxiety and depression? The same question could be, could faith heal cancer? Do we have to go to see doctors in case of cancer? Or you depend on just your prayer? But cancer is a disease. Mental disorders are diseases. These are not bad spirits. Psycho-emotional disorders, there's chemical imbalances, and when you take medication, you get better. If you have hyperacidity and ulcer, you go for a doctor. Why there is a stigma associated with someone who has psycho-emotional disorder? It's an ordinary disease which could be treated better than to stay without it. Medications for an anxiety, depression are not addictive. Smart anything. Again, do I have to take medication? You don't have to, unless you feel you can function. Most of us fear taking medications, but if you are not functioning and your life becomes miserable, this medication I'm going to tell you about, those medications for anxiety and depression are not addictive. You don't depend on them. And there are something called neurotransmitters in the brain. They transmit the electric impulses between the cells of the brain. Because of the stress, sometimes these neurotransmitters are not secreted in the appropriate amounts. We give medication so these neurotransmitters will be secreted as normal. Then those medications are not tranquilizers. These are medications which help the brain cells to secrete the neurotransmitters needed to deal with the emotional interactions, focusing and alertness, and calmness in the body.
Sorry, but doesn't those medications create dependence? And later on, like statistically, it shows that period of the suicide, a lot of the suicides that have been happening, all these people have already been on antidepressants?
No.
Okay.
When someone prescribed SSRIs, like Prozac, Cilex, all that, unless you need it, don't take it. But if you are not functioning, then you have to take medication. The first week of taking the medication is crucial. If you find the signs and symptoms are increasing, it has to be changed to something else. You have to take at least to the SSRIs, serotonin releases. So it's not at all right for your anxiety and depression to continue and get worse, and you continue taking the medication. The medication shows its effect after at least 4 to 6 weeks of intake. It's not an aspirin, you take it, then signs and symptoms will diminish. It has to build up certain concentration in the blood. Could you depend on it? Which means, are they addictive? Addiction on a substance means the amount of the substance you are taking will produce certain effect. If you continue taking it for a month, you have to increase the dose in order to get the same effect. After 5 months, you have to increase the dose to get the same effect. This is not a medication. You could take 1 dose, which is a therapeutic dose, for 10 years without increasing it. But the only to depend on it is not dependence. Someone has diabetes. He's depending on taking insulin. We tell him, okay, if you don't like it, stop it. His body is working properly if you take insulin injection. Is he addicted to insulin? So, if you take some vitamins because you need it for your body, is that addictive medications? And you take it, say, for 20 years, every day or tablet. It's the same concept. SSRIs, those kind of medications I mentioned, they are not addictive. I know people who are taking it for years and years because it adjusts the secretion of the normal transmitters of the brain. The only side effects of it, sometimes it diminishes sexual desires. Actually, it's well needed for some people. So it is not a disadvantage. Yeah, some people, they take it for that reason. Some people take it for bad side effects, to diminish a bit the sexual desires. And some of those medications, not all of them, are associated with some water retention, so increasing the body weight. Not all of them, some of them. And those are the medications we use to treat ADD, attention deficit disorder in adults. Because they increase attention, ability to pay attention and focus and concentrate. Anyone going to the board test, which is very difficult, I prefer to take one of those medications at least 4 months before the test. So the test anxiety will be less, and he will be able more to focus and concentrate and work his mind. Nothing wrong in using these, they are not addictive medications. Will we go for the other ones of that?
diagnostic criteria for obsessive compulsive disorder? Either obsessions or compulsions. Page 15. Obsessions as defined by 1, 2, 3, and 4. Recurrent and persistent thoughts, impulses, or images that are experienced at some time during the disturbance as intrusive and inappropriate and that cause marked anxiety or distress. Number 2, the thoughts, impulses, or images are not simply excessive worries about real-life problems. Number 3, the person attempts to ignore or suppress such thoughts, impulses, or image, or to neutralize them with some other thought or action. And number 4, the person recognizes that the obsessional thoughts, impulses, or images are a product of his or her own mind, not imposed from without, as in thought insertion or schizophrenia.
I will give an idea about obsessive compulsive. Two parts of that disease disorder: the obsession and the compulsion. The obsession is an idea or a thought or an image or an impulse which I'm obsessed with it. I will give you an example. And compulsive part, I am compelled to do a certain behavior. An idea is an obsession, the behavior is a compulsion. So obsessive compulsive disorder is someone who's obsessed by an idea or a thought, haunting him, and then he will go to do certain action. Someone feels this room is full of germs and bacteria. Someone feels that the knob of the door is not clean. Someone feels when he's sitting close by somebody else, that somebody else may be sick, and the germ will come from him to me. Somebody feels that my hands must be cleansed because germs are around my hands. It's an idea. What is the behavior? I will leave the room. I will wash my hands 40 times a day. I will take 7 showers a day. His obsession could be the idea which is haunting him, that the blood corpuscles are moving inside his blood vessels and he's aware of its movement. And then he is thinking that those blood corpuscles are moving in the blood vessels and they will come to a junction and they will cause a clot. This is the obsession, his fears. Someone feels that the sperms are moving in the ducts inside his body. It's an idea, an impulse, a thought. Then what would be the behavior? He would behave in a weird way, depending on how to protect himself. And these ideas, he knows it's coming to his mind. Whatever he wants to stop it, he can't. He can't stop the obsession of the idea. Someone is obsessed that has an idea that some of his organs are going to drop from its place. Internal organ or external organ are going to disappear. He goes to so many doctors to tell him no, it is there. But he's obsessed that the kidney will drop, the liver will drop from its place. His testicles are going to disappear. The external organs are not there anymore. An obsession. So, the most famous of those obsessions, which everybody will go through it, they are not safe for people. I mean, some people do that. Before you go to sleep, you check for the windows and doors. Before leaving home, you check for the kitchen, see whether something is on or not. You let the stove on. the oven is on. And when you go out to your house, maybe it's still on. You go back and open the door and go and see whether it's on or not. And you go and open the closets. Maybe somebody is in one of the closets, hiding. How many times do you check whether you have closed the door after you leave home? You are in the car, but you think maybe I don't close it right. You go and turn the knob. Is it closed or not? Or someone, after closing the door with the key, he has to shake the door. It's not a habit. He fears that it might not. So idea, which is the obsession, maybe I left the cooker on the stove on. Behavior, I go so many times to check on it. And is that a pathology? Yes. It's annoying. It takes time from you as a mentally. So obsessive compulsive, obsession is an idea or thought or image comes to my mind, and compulsion is the behavior associated with it.
Compulsions. Number one is repetitive behavior, like hand washing, ordering, checking, or mental acts, praying, counting, repeating words silently, that the person feels driven to perform in response to an obsession or according to rules that must be applied rigidly. Number two, the behaviors or mental acts are aimed at preventing or reducing the stress or preventing some dreaded event or situation. However, these behaviors or mental acts either are not connected in a realistic way, with that they are designed to neutralize or prevent, or are purely excessive. Some point during the course of the disorder, the person has recognized that the obsessions or compulsions are excessive or unreasonable. The obsessions or compulsions cause marked distress, are time-consuming, or significantly interfere with the person's normal routine, occupational, academic functioning, or usual social activities or relationships. The disturbance is not due to the direct physiological effects of a substance or a general medical condition.
That condition is treatable by medication and psychotherapy, but in certain cases it is so difficult. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder, look with me now. Obsessive compulsive personality disorders usually associated with perfectionist personalities. They are so meticulous. They work organization to the extent of obsession. They are obsessed by organization. Someone is obsessed by cleaning. If a drop of water is on the counter close to the sink, it's a problem. He goes wiping and cleaning. He's obsessed by cleaning. He's a perfectionist. But when it turns to an obsession, an anxiety will set in if everything is not clean, then you are turning into obsessive compulsive. And you could have an obsessive compulsive personality disorder, mostly at work. You find someone workaholic, is obsessed by perfectionism in his work. If a boss is like that, he will turn the environment hell for those under him. Because he works and works maybe 15 hours a day, but you work 8 hours only, 2 hours. You think, why you don't work? And if anything is not perfect, it's more than perfectionism. It's an obsession. And it is part of his personality now. He will get anxious if something is not perfect for him. So you have perfectionism, you have obsessive compulsive disorder, which you are describing, and you have obsessive compulsive personality disorder. خلي بالك من البروفيشنز، خلي بالك يعني.
Criteria for major depression episode.
اسمعوا دي بقى، اسمعوا.
5 or more of the following symptoms have been present during the same 2-week period and represent a change from previous functioning. At least one of the symptoms is either 1, depressed mood, or 2, loss of interest or pleasure.
سامعين دول حاجتين دول.
Number 1, could be depressed mood or loss of interest or pleasure. Okay. Number 1, depressed mood most of the day, nearly every day, as indicated by either subjective report, which means feel sad or empty, or observation made by others, which means you appear tearful. Number 2, markedly diminished interest or pleasure in all or almost all activities, most of the day, nearly every day, as indicated by either subjective account or observation made by others. Number 3, significant weight loss when not dieting or weight gain. Example, a change of more than 5% of body weight in a month.
Not in the Egyptian.
Or a decrease or increase in appetite nearly every day. Increase. Number 4, insomnia or hypersomnia nearly every day. Number 5, psychomotor agitation or retardation nearly every day, observable by others, not merely subjective feelings or of restlessness or being slowed down. Number 6, fatigue or loss of energy nearly every day. 7, feelings of worthlessness or excessive or inappropriate guilt, which may be delusional, nearly every day, not merely self-reproach or guilt about being sick. Second to last one.
How many now?
1, 2, 3, 4.
How many you have to find?
Yeah, fine.
How many criteria you have to find in a patient to say that he has major depressive disorder? 5. For how long? Not every depression is a major depressive episode. Yeah. So many kinds of depression, but we are talking about an episode with sometimes need hospitalization. You must find 5 of those, 9 or 10 criteria.
Diminished ability to think or concentrate or indecisiveness nearly every day, either by subjective account or as observed by others. Last one, recurrent thoughts of death, not just fear of dying, recurrent suicidal ideation without a specific plan, or a suicide attempt or a specific plan for committing suicide. The symptoms cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. The disturbance is not due to the direct physiological effects of a substance, like drugs, or a general medical condition, like hyperthyroidism.
So, depression is treatable. Please, عشان خاطري. Some priests or clergymen are against medication, and they regard anyone who is depressed or have an anxiety that he needs more faith. Faith in God will cure him. Yes, we have situational anxiety or depression, we will give medication for that. But if it's pathological, he needs to take medication. Some patients, after the direction of the clergyman, They refuse to take medication. They are out of job for 5 years because they are so depressed. And they have the guilt that they are not a true believer. I mean, there are monks who have depression and they are so good with God. It has nothing to do with your level of faith. It is pathological. But some situations, I mean, you lose someone, departure of someone, failure in a test, broken relationship, or broken heart, fine. I mean, Abuna and your faith could help you in that without medication. Although sometimes we give medication, if the depression, the sadness will continue for years after the loss of someone. So we have to make a distinction between the disease and something situational associated with a situation or event.
Diagnostic criteria for manic episodes. A distinct period of abnormally and persistently elevated expansion or irritable mood lasting at least 1 week or any duration if hospitalization is necessary. During the period of mood disturbance, 3 or more of the following symptoms have persisted and have been present to a significant degree. Number 1, inflated self-esteem or grandiosity. 2, decreased need for sleep. Example, feels rested after only 3 hours of sleep. Number 3, more talkative than usual or pressure to keep talking. Number 4, flight of ideas or subjective experience that thoughts are racing. Number 5, distractibility. Example, attention too easily drawn to unimportant or irrelevant external stimuli. Number 6, increase in goal-directed activity, either socially, at work, or school, or sexually, or psychomotor agitation. Last one, excessive involvement in pleasurable activities that have a high potential for painful consequences. Example, engaging unrestrained buying sprees, sexual indiscretions, or foolish business investments. The mood disturbance is sufficiently severe to cause marked impairment in occupational functioning, or usual social activities or relationships with others, or to necessitate hospitalization to prevent harm to self or others, or there are psychotic features. The symptoms are not due to the direct physiological effects of a substance, example drug, medication, or other treatment, or a general medical condition like hyperthyroidism.
So this is a diagnostic criteria for a manic attack. You diagnose bipolar, manic depression. There has to be at least one attack with this description, 3 or more of what was mentioned, for 1 week. Mostly they need hospitalization if it will happen. And if we have, this attack could be once every 10 years or once every month. It depends. I told you anxiety, panic, hypomania, mania. Someone who's so decent. I know at MD, all of a sudden, he went to buy a lot for $4 million. He has no money. During the manic attack, he went and he bought a place, a land, peaceful land, to build on it, whatever, medical building. When he is not manic, he will not buy it. Someone will go into certain unusual behaviors which he will not do it when he is not manic. Those people, in general, they don't sleep. I mean, 3 hours is quite sufficient for them to continue all the day working. And their mind is always working with flight of ideas. And And during the manifestation of the attack, he could talk continuously for hours, and you can't stop them. So if something like this, we call it manic attack. With a depression or with bipolar, which is mania and depression. Period of increased anxiety with period of depression. It could be mostly anxiety or mostly depression, or waves of anxiety then waves of depression. We go for psychosis.
Schizophrenia. Characteristic symptoms. 2 or more of the following each presents for a significant portion of time during 1 month period. Number 1, delusions. 2, hallucinations. 3, disorganized speech. Example, frequent derailment or incoherence. Number 4, grossly disorganized or catatonic behavior. Number 5, negative symptoms, i.e. affective flattening, alogia, or abolition. Social occupational dysfunction. For a significant portion of the time since the onset of the disturbance, 1 or more major areas of functioning such as work, interpersonal relations, or self-care are marked below the level achieved prior to the onset, or when the onset is in childhood or adolescence, failure to achieve expected level of interpersonal, academic, or occupational achievement. Duration. Continuous signs of the disturbance persist for at least 6 months. This 6-month period must include at least 1 month of symptoms, or less if successively treated, that meet criterion A, i.e. active phase symptoms, and may include periods of prodromal or residual symptoms. During these prodromal or residual periods, the signs of the disturbance may be manifested by only negative symptoms, or 2 or more symptoms listed in criterion A, present in an attenuated form. Example, odd beliefs, unusual perceptual experiences. Substance, general medical condition exclusion. The disturbance is not due to the direct physiological effects of a substance, i.e. the drug abuse or medication, or a general medical condition.
In schizophrenia or psychosis, I give you just one idea, please. I want to finish with the time. Please. The patient, the psychotic patient, is a patient who shows islands. It is a thought process. It's a disease of thinking. Psychosis is a disease affecting thinking. So he will show certain islands in his thinking in which he will go to the unreal world. And then he will return back to the real world. And if it's not treated, the island gets more and more and more. The patient will go into the unreal world, away from reality, gradually, till he will live in totally unreal world. 2 main criteria we look for: delusions and hallucinations. Delusions is a firm false belief which you cannot at all change his or her opinion about that. Give him all the documentation. He is not sick, but he has delusion. He has cancer somewhere in his body. She has jealousy delusion. Her husband is flirting with somebody else. Her husband is going somewhere. Or his wife must be with somebody now. I know someone who always calls his wife on her cell phone 30, 40 times a day to check on her, where she is right now. while she was taking a written test. She called her at least 4 times, and he knows exactly the time of the test. He goes to check on her car, where she is, in a pathological way, jealousy delusion, or paranoid, the KGB or the FBI, false firm belief. Someone is spying on me. He's trying to send certain rays to kill me. He is in another country, but he's able to send his rays and to get into me through the TV set or through the dish. And the only way, maybe if I put it off, still the rays will come. The only way is to go and cut the wire connecting the dish to the TV set. A false, firm belief. It's false and firm. I am Cleopatra. Try to prove to me. So, and somebody will indicate that he's Moses. Someone who's in Florida, our church in Florida. He comes every Sunday wearing clothes of Moses and 2 guards wearing pharaoh dresses, and he will go on top of his car preaching the people in the parking lot.
2 guys?
Yes. They are very intelligent. The psychotics are very intelligent, but they go into the unreal, firm, false belief delusion. There's so many kinds of delusion. Hallucinations are either auditory hallucination, they hear voices which is not there, or visual, they see something nobody else could see, or tactile, they feel, or taste, or smell olfactory. They smell something nobody could smell. And in that particular hallucination, some religious people are so into that, they are schizophrenic. They see Virgin Mary and Pope Carolus and all those, and smell incense, and nobody around them, or their behavior action, or their level of spirituality allow that. So we have to discern between schizophrenia and those who are living so high in spirituality, and the young church all with them. So cases will come and let's see, is he really schizophrenic or not? Psychosis. You have delusion and hallucination, other criteria as you have seen. For how long this has to continue to diagnose? One continuous month, but within a time of 6 months. I mean, don't rush into diagnosing psychosis. Because if someone is going in the streets talking to himself, or this for real, someone, a lady, about 45, 50, أبونا لك يستبشر معلش يقول يد بتقول إيه؟ أبونا came to my house and he took a picture for me while I was naked. And she went to the church. He was under that firm false belief. And she was screaming, عيب يا أبونا, عيب يا أبونا. And while he's praying, somebody could come and cheer the icons and scream. These are behaved with under a firm belief that maybe the icons has something to do with whatever. So psychosis, schizophrenia, there's so many different types, but we go for delusion and hallucination and other criteria. Now the last one is ADD.
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Either one or two. 6 or more of the following symptoms of inattention have persisted for at least 6 months to a degree that is made maladaptive and inconsistent with developmental level. Inattention. Often fails to give close attention to details or makes careless mistakes in schoolwork, work, or other activities. 2. Often has difficulty sustaining attention in tasks or play activities. Number 3. Often does not seem to listen when spoken to directly.
Most men like that.
Number 4.
With their wives. I'm seeing most husbands are like that, while their wives are talking to them.
Okay, number 4. Number 4. Often does not follow through on instructions and fails to finish schoolwork, chores, or duties in the workplace, not due to oppositional behavior or failure to understand instructions. Often has difficulty organizing tasks and activities. Often avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort, such as schoolwork or homework. Often loses things necessary for tasks or activities. Example, toys, school assignments, pencils, books, tools. Is often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli and is often forgetful in daily activities. 6 or more of the following symptoms of hyperactivity, impulsivity have persisted for at least 6 months to a degree that is maladaptive or inconvenient with developmental level. Hyperactivity. Often fidgets with hands or feet or squirms in seat. Number 2, often leaves seat in classroom or in other situations in which remaining seat is expected. Remaining seated is expected. Often runs about or climbs excessively in situations in which it is inappropriate. In adolescents or adults may be limited to subjective feelings of restlessness. Often has difficulty playing or engaging in leisure activities quietly. Is often on the go or often acts as if driven by a motor. And often talks excessively. Impulsivity. Often blurts out answers before questions have been completed. Often has difficulty awaiting turn. Often interrupts or intrudes on others. Example, butts into conversations or games.
So this diagnosis of ADD in adults, ADHD in childhood, attention deficit disorder, inability to pay attention for some time, more than 15 minutes, diluted. And some of you could lose attention and get distracted after 5, 10, 15 minutes from the start of the book. If you will continue paying attention for 45 minutes, you cannot have attention deficit. Attention deficit or distractibility, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. Children, they start diagnosing that when they go to the first grade. The teacher will report to the parents that the child is not focused, is not paying attention to her while he or she is in the class. Participation in the class is diminished. Distractibility. You have, for adults, you have inner distractibility and outer distractibility. Distracted by something around you or distracted by your own thoughts. If you have an ADD, you cannot say the following features are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in your mind. While you are on number 2, you'll be distracted with number 3 or number 4. Distractibility inner or outer. you have criteria for distractibility. You choose from them. Hyperactivity, mostly children. And when you go to adulthood, this hyperactivity is not there. Even childhood sometimes is not there. So we diagnose by lack of paying attention, distractibility, and impulsivity. Hyperactivity slash hyperactivity means it could be there or not. This description applies to children and adults. But the medication needed for children is different than adults. Medication helps the patient tremendously. In 1 week, the school will report that he's getting better. He could pay attention in the class, and he could sit in his place. Before he was unable to sit quiet. So the teacher will know most probably he took medication. The treatment for children now is on the increase, and in Egypt they do not know about it. كل واحد شقي يبقى يضرب يتزلق في الكلاس يقطع حيطه يرفع دفه وهو بس يكون غلبان عنده ADD و PhD. If we don't treat those young children, most probably when they will reach high school, they will go with the wrong crowd. They feel we belong to the wrong crowd, not the intelligent, smart people. Although they are very smart, and they can't use their smartness because they are lacking certain chemicals. If they take it, no side effects. If they do not take it, you feel that they are stupid, very low self-esteem, and they are unable to improve or grow academically. Describe that they are done. So they will go with the wrong crowd. In high school, they will use drugs if they are not treated. It's one pill a day. It will help him to get his confidence in himself and his intelligence God gave him. It is a sin if a parent will not give to his own child, because he will leave him. I'm sorry, some of the parents fear giving the medication and then review their own children because they are not academically good. And everybody is punishing them because they are hyperactive. In the school, or at home, or in Sunday school, because of disruption. If that child will take a medication, will be so polite in the high school. Skip about to say, look, don't give your children on weekends. Why? In the church, they're going to pay attention. See the young deacons, how they are behaving. Be suspicious. If one of them will lose attention after 5 or 10 minutes and start to play with around him, he might be hyperactive. Hyperactivity only does not diagnose. But there has to be distractibility, impulsivity with or without hyperactivity. If you, now as adults, if you were unable to achieve academically, you were struggling academically, ask your parents, was I hyperactive child? Most probably you have ADD now. You will not get better. You will continue also not focusing, don't even pay attention, you forget. You want to tell you, get me 5 things, you will forget you get only 1 thing, and not intentionally, you are unable. She has to call you when you are in the drugstore or the department store. Don't forget to get me such and such. I told you in the morning. Unless she will call him, he will never get it. Because he has ADD. And the treatment is so simple. Like an anxiety depression. There's a book called Honey, Are You Listening? About ADD of adults. Because it's so different there. They are another world. God bless you. Take care of yourself. And when you are going to find the appropriate mate, take care of yourself.